Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our, I think it's our 18th Tuesday webinar. We recently rebranded our user group to the Workplace Ninja User Group Netherlands, and therefore we have new branding, etc. We now use the Ninja, but with the familiar WMUG logo, as you all know it. Today we have Kenny and Merlijn, all the way from Belgium, but of course working from home, just like the rest of us. And they will introduce themselves later on. Thanks to our sponsors. Without our sponsors, even during COVID-19 times, we cannot organize these kinds of meetings. So a big thank you to them as well. Our social media handles have been changed as well. But if you were already following us, you don't have to do anything because we were able to actually rename all our brands. So if you were following us on Twitter, you are still following us. Our Facebook page didn't change. We do have a nice URL for YouTube nowadays, so you can join us there. Feel free to follow us wherever you like. For the upcoming events. That's nice. Because the next upcoming event is from me. I can introduce myself, which is always nice. That's in 2 weeks on Tuesday about conditional access. So I have a lot to tell on that subject. I think almost 2 weeks after. The date is not correct, sorry for that, but we will communicate that. We have the next live Ask Us Anything podcast being recorded by Frans and Ronnie, and they have Samantha Kloos-Kilkens as their special guest about identity governance and passwordless. And on the 2nd of March, that date is correct, we have Thomas Maurer telling us something about Azure Arc, which will be interesting as well.
Yeah, for the recording with Samantha, Kenneth, is on the 23rd of February.
Yeah, okay. So that's 2 weeks after that Tuesday, or is that 1 week after the? Yeah. That's in 3 weeks. So as you know, we are a user group. We want to provide a platform for people to speak. So if you want to have your voice heard, or maybe something you designed or created or know a lot about, we want to ask you to submit a session using our Sessionize page, which still has the WMUG URL in it, but it's still active. But if you want to speak at one of our events or one of our webinars, feel free to submit a session, and we'll make sure to follow up with you as well. So for today we have Kenny and Merlijn. I will hand over the presentation to them, and they can introduce themselves. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. Oh, I look so young on the picture. Thank you.
Yes, you should update it. I don't look like this anymore either. All right, let me put this in full screen, like so. You should all be seeing the presentation. So thank you, Kenneth and Peter, for introducing us. My name is Merlijn Van Waeyenberghe, better known as Merlin from Belgium in the community. I'm the principal consultant at Obvious, and I have brought along with me my boss, Kenny. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, maybe you can click the slide, Merlijn. Shows maybe also what you do in your free time. And
yes, first of all, let's thank the sponsors once more. Always a pleasure to be able to do these community events, even if it's remote. It still requires a lot of effort and costs to set things up. So thank you very much to all these sponsors. So a little bit about myself. Apart from work, I also like to do even more IT, especially virtual reality. Something I've been dabbling in for a while. Not just gaming. I won't call it developing, but let's say I'm into it. I'm exploring what to offer, especially in these times with virtual events. If you're interested, go check out a few of the virtual events that Microsoft is hosting. Kathy Moya is a big sponsor of that. I have a pilot license, but the only flying I'm doing right now is in virtual reality, so I do some flight sims. I'm involved in the community, as you can tell. We just did a session for the Belgian user group, BMUG. I also co-host the Belgian PowerShell user group. I've spoken at events such as MMS and Workplace Ninja in the virtual summit last August. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and all that stuff. Kenny, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm definitely the boss of Merlijn. Well, I prefer to say the colleague that pays his salary, because well, from a company perspective, we both work on the same company, and we believe in community, and sharing is caring, of course. There's another Belgian guy. But I'm active I'm an MVP in enterprise mobility for now, I think 13 years. I don't keep count, but it's already a long time. I like to drink beer, although I'm on a diet shortly, or since shortly. So beer is like more an exception now than than anything else. But I really do like tasting of beers, and I tried like 3 years doing some brewing. For those who know Mirko Kolenberg, or AKA as Birko, he likes brewing, and I always enjoy those privately created or crafted beers. I'm also heavily involved in the community. We try to organize, and it's very difficult with in COVID times. We had to adapt, which is also nice. But I'm one of the co-founders from the System Center user group, and now rebranded to the Belgium Enterprise Management user group. We also thought about getting into the Ninja stuff, but we will see how that ends. You can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. But yeah, let's rock and roll, and let's see what we can teach you guys today.
Yes. So what we wanted to do today is something a little less technical. We decided to do an example on the best of the few of the best practices. That was a bit wrong. Yeah. A few of the best practices is what I meant to say. In application management and other things, in essence, what's the fastest way that we can do stuff with Microsoft Endpoint Manager and related tools today? So that's what it's about. First off, maybe a little history, just for those that haven't been working with Config Manager since 1994. I haven't. I started in 2009, so that was 2007 release 2. But before Configuration Manager, SCCM, as we still like to call it, there was a product called SMS.
Yeah. Wally would kick your ass, Merlijn.
Well, Wally can come and do that and I invite him to bring along his notepad as well.
Yes, so who remembers Wally Mead? It's already a long time. He skipped Microsoft, so is SMS in that kind of terms. Yeah.
Yeah, but we've learned a lot from him, and we'll always appreciate his efforts for the community as well. Shout out to Wally. So SMS. If anyone still remembers what it stands for, as is mentioned here, it stands for Systems Management Server. Little known fact, though, do you know what it also stands for? And it's a little joke, but it was also called Slow Moving Software. Okay, because that's what it was.
It has always been slow-moving software, even though it was rebranded to SCCM in 2007. It is since 2012. It has become more and more the autobahn, as we called it with DJAM in the car to a community in Germany. When we were driving the autobahn and very fast and Americans were very scared actually in the back of the car. They said like, wow, SMS is not anymore slow-moving software, but we should rebrand it to SCCM Autobahn, and that goes back to the high-speed notification channel.
Yeah, which makes it a lot faster. So that's what we're going to leverage, see how fast it really is, and we'll apply that to delivering applications to the end user, or say that your manager taps you on the shoulder and says, hey man, I need a report on what user last used that software metering, or whatever other report. I need it like stat, I need it right now. How fast can you actually deliver that data to your manager?
Yeah. Or for example, what we also see in common today is you have all these fancy security products from Microsoft, and you need an E5 for that, or you need at least an expensive add-on license. Well, depends what you call expensive, but yeah, every IT manager thinks Microsoft security software is expensive, although they pay Cisco or anything else big bang for the buck. But then they want that one security update that's being released. They want to know on which machines it's being not installed or failed to install, and they want to know it right now because the CISO is asking that kind of report. And in the older days, it was very difficult to get that information pretty fast, and we can show you an alternative way on how you can get it in lightning speed.
Yeah. So that's the agenda for today's session. Yeah. We'll look at specific things in applications, policies, aka the notification channel in Config Manager, the inventory of your devices, and how to report in the fastest way. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. First off, let's look at the tools that we'll look at. This is the scope. We know that there are other ways of getting things done. That's the beauty of IT, and you can customize anything, you can automate everything, but we'll restrict ourselves to using the tools in Microsoft Endpoint Manager, being Configuration Manager and Intune, the admin center, as well with Tenant Attach. We'll look at a few community tools and also some commercial third-party tools. Disclaimer though, we have not been sponsored to mention any players. We have included many of them, so nobody has paid us to mention their name. We just included some of the more popular ones and why they improve and
some examples
help us do our job.
Yeah, maybe also the third-party tools and the community tools are actually focused to plug in or extend onto Config Manager and or Intune. It just depends on what's available.
Yes. So we're gonna play a little racing game and see what gives us the best ways, the fastest ways, which tools give us the best experience from IT to end user. And to portray this race, what do you need in a race? Of course, you need either a car or you need a Segway, maybe, if you're at MMS.
If you're Brian Mason, definitely.
Yeah, but today we are going to use horses. Now, you know how horses always have these cool names, racing horses that is, like Seabiscuit or Red Rum or Citation or Config Manager. So we've named these horses appropriately: Config Manager, Intune, Community, and Third Party. All right.
Yeah.
There are a couple of rules as well, Kenny, if you want.
Yeah, there are some rules of the game, of course. We defined that they have to work for on-premise or cloud devices, not or. You cannot use directly WinRM or WMI or PowerShell remoting. In a lot of companies, it's not even anymore allowed from a security perspective. I mean, a lot of PSExec or remote PowerShelling is blocked. So we don't take that into account that we could use that channel. And it's only for Win32 apps. We don't talk about Windows Store apps or any kind of those kind of easy quick wins. Because they're already there, and we use them in some other scenarios or use cases.
Yeah, we just want to limit the scope, otherwise we could be talking for many, many hours.
Yes, applications as such can be a big topic.
Nice segue into the first topic, Kenny. Applications. We've split this topic up into two parts. First off, we'll be looking at the creation of an application. How fast can we get an application in our favorite tool? The next part will be about how to deploy it. All right. So talking about configuration manager, the most popular way would be the application model. So we wouldn't be talking anymore about the packaging model. Application model is extremely open to your interpretation. You can do anything with it, right? You can script your detection methods, you can add any requirements, and you can do so much with it, which also makes it complex to learn. There's quite a steep learning curve. You need some experience and some knowledge on packaging, but it is a very, very good tool. Okay.
I think, Merlijn, also to chime in, and that is something we should not forget. Everybody who started in the application model, it has become better and better. There were some few iterations, but you have dependencies. You have also, and I didn't sleep much, so I'm searching a bit sometimes behind words, but you know that supersedence was in the early days a big pain, a big challenge to see how it actually worked and that kind of stuff. So you have a lot of components, a lot of ways of getting an application together. And if you're new to Config Manager, it can be very much overwhelming. But if you are using Config Manager from, let's say, if you're like a seasoned admin, I think you will find your way, but it can still be challenging. I don't think, especially when it goes south and you need to troubleshoot, you need to know your way around.
Yeah. So I'll just throw in our demo environment. I'm looking at a little application, very simple one. It's a CM Pivot tool, which is part of Config Manager. There's an MSI for that, so you can install it as a standalone tool. You can find it in the tools folder of the Configuration Manager product. It's an MSI, so it's really easy. It's just MSI exec, a few parameters, same for the uninstall. But how many times have you come across an MSI where you try and extract the product code and you think I'll just throw that in the uninstall program or in the detection method? Turns out there's a different MSI code that you need, or the install parameters don't do what you'd expect them to do. Maybe they throw another exit code. As simple as it can look to deploy an application, you quickly are confronted with some challenges. Okay.
Or expect some dependencies, which is mainly the case. I think about a Visual Studio ++ component or a C++ component or simple things like a report viewer or whatever. That's not visible from just importing the MSI, of course.
Yeah, I don't think I have one immediately with dependencies, but I'm sure we don't need to go into the details of application model entirely.
I think most of the people in here, they are seasoned Config Manager admins, so yeah. At least I hope so.
Yeah. On top of that, there's application groups. We can deploy a task sequence even as an application, so there's really no limit as to what you can do. Okay. Second method is Intune. Do you want to tell us something about that, Kenny?
I think to be honest, and this is mainly my experience, I think Intune application creation, especially when it's a Win32 app, it sucked a long time. And then Microsoft tried to rebuild what was built in Config Manager, product team of Intune. It has become much better, but I think if you're a novice, you get lost pretty easy. You can also get lost in Config Manager pretty easy, but Intune naming doesn't make sense. There are limited options. You also need to take into account, but this has nothing to do with creation, but you have to take into account that finding which type of applications you should deploy is difficult. Secondly, if you want to deploy a simple MSI or no, not an MSI, but simple application, and to be honest, I think everybody in today, Microsoft is shouting about new technology, getting about now I forgot it. Yeah. Can say it 100 times. I see the PM in front of me, but the new technology that will replace MSI.
MSIX.
MSIX, yeah. I was thinking on app attach, but I was busy with the previous meeting on Windows Virtual Desktop, so was a bit confused. But anyway, today still a lot of companies deliver just a simple setup.exe, and if you want to get that into Intune in an application, you need to repackage it, you need to make that happen, and to be honest, I still believe it's a mess.
And here we are. So here's the portal. If you go to endpoint.microsoft.com, you go into the apps. So there's a few already here. As we mentioned, we won't go into any store apps, but say one.
These are easy, Merlijn. I mean, the store apps is just bingo.
Yeah, you just link it, right?
Yep.
So what if we want to package that same app as before, the CM Pivot app? It's a simple MSI. It's right here. So again, it's in the installation folder for Config Manager tool CM Pivot. It's just this. It's a 6 megabyte MSI. So let's add that to Intune. And of course, it's going to be a Windows 32 app. At least that's what you'd expect, because then when you click on select app package, you go into that folder, and this is where we need to go.
You should have taken an LOB app, Merlijn.
That's what you say. Oh, right, I should have. Oh, I can still add it. Let's do like this. It won't work. You need to have an Intune Win file. If this is the first time you've heard of it, you wouldn't be the first. You wouldn't be the only one, sorry. There's a little documentation you need to read about it. It's not that hard, but you need to wrap your head around it. You need to wrap the MSI or the application files into it. In essence, it's a zip file.
But let's keep it open.
Add it like that.
Let's keep it open for a minute. I think you basically have the same tabs as you have in Config Manager. You still have program requirements, detection rules, dependencies, and of course assignments, which is for the next topic on applications. So you see that Microsoft is putting effort in getting Intune on par, but I think that today with co-management and other solutions like tenant attach, you have better options than just rewrapping applications. But that aside, I think we can jump to the next topic actually.
All right.
Or
so
topic.
Just this is what you meant with requirements, detection rules, etc. So what you did have to do, just to conclude on that, as you mentioned, you need to select the line of business, and here you go. Here's where you can select either an MSI or any of these extensions, including the MSIX that Kenny just talked about, and that will allow you to add that MSI. And from there on, it's not that hard, but there are a lot of limitations. And personally, I just think this is poor naming. This is my opinion. So
yeah,
there you go. That's the Intune option. And then there's some community tools that make our life a little easier in that they can provide us the applications for import into Configuration Manager. One of them is the Rucksack tool by Roger Zander. The slide deck can be shared after this session, so you can find that link in the slide. He also has a commercial option, by the way, but if you go with the free option, Roger has a repository of popular applications, which he curates, and you can import them into Configuration Manager using a little GUI. You can even install it as a console extension. It's a really neat feature. and it can get you going really quickly. If you set up a new config manager environment, you need some basic apps. This is one quick way to do it. One that I really recently found out about is, and it's on GitHub, I'll pull it up, is this one. It's on GitHub, as I said, by Andrew Jimenez, and he created CM Packager, which is a recipes-based solution. So this would be the repository, and if you click on it, you'll recognize that it has the download URL, where to get it, what type of deployment type. So you can quickly see where this is going. But another great community tool to help you import packages really quickly.
And Merlijn and I, we always have discussions internally, and he knows clearly what I think about community tools. I'm a community guy. I like community because it helps people around and helps to do their job more quickly, more efficient. However, I think when you do a commercial customer, you should make a clear statement to them that this is not have any guarantees. That, of course, if you use Chocolatey or you use Roger's Xander tool, that you might not have support, even though you have a paid option. I know that Chocolatey has a private store. That is safe if you know what you put in there. But if you pull anything out of a public community server, the code can be malicious, could be anything else than what you expect. So be careful when you are talking to your customers about using community tools, especially in creating applications, because you would not be you don't want to be the first consultant that is importing some malicious code and after that get trapped or get a customer that gets compromised. So I think that community tools are great, but you should look at it with a little fail-safe disclaimer. All right, so
there it is.
Yep, let's get back to where we wanted to go. Apologize for that. So yeah, we have Patch My PC, for example, paid tool. That's different towards a community tool. There is a support behind it, but also those kind of tools, instead of repackaging every time your application, they will, from an update catalog, just have tooling that you can say right click and create applications. So it will save you a lot of time. Although it's paying, it can still help you a lot in different cases. There are others, of course. You have, for example, recast tools or anything else like that. But for application creation, I think Patch My PC is today, I think, one of my personal favorite tools to create applications from a simple right click. And you can, for example, in one option without having knowledge, remove the desktop shortcut, switch off the auto update, that kind of features that almost every config manager admin is looking for out of the box. So who's going to win? Let our horses do their job. And I think today, if you look at the whole scenario we explained, I think third-party tools are the winner today, because it just import the catalog. And just give you a small tip. If you start a new project, you can have a month free catalog from Patch My PC. You can import it, create your applications you need, very easy, to make your basic task sequence. And yeah, oh, there's Merlijn. Just admit him. You have your basic set of applications up and running in no time.
I'm back.
Yes, what happened?
I don't know, my internet has gone, so I switched to mobile.
Nah, luckily.
Out of all the times, you know, just yeah.
All right. Just wrapped up. The winner is commercial third-party tools. If you have anything to add, I just said, like, even though you have no knowledge and you want to speed up your project, you can just import the trial catalog and create your applications you need for your basic task sequence, for example, very quickly, very easy, without the need for a lot of knowledge. All right.
Okay,
Then-
I'm back online. So,
All right. Then we have, of course, application deployment. Well, Merlijn, you were away, so take it away, I would say.
yeah. So I wanted to show a demo on Patch My PC, just real quick.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that.
So I'll share my screen again. I'm sorry, guys. We do live in IT, and stuff can go wrong.
I think I should help you to invest in some YubiKitty material.
The internet connection dropped, Kenny. Thank you very much. I'm on mobile. All right. So just really quickly to finish up on that topic. So Patch My PC, I'm sure Kenny's talked about it while I was away. If you want to quickly inject some applications into your environment, you can search through the catalog and say, for instance, I want, why not? I want this app. You can select that and you can have it injected into your config manager apps. Okay.
Yeah, TeamViewer, or indeed the one that we have a lot is the Barco Click to Run. For example, it's a shitty application to do yourself. This makes it pretty, I would say you don't need any brains to get that done.
Yeah. And what you can do with it is you can add your own parameters. You can even do some scripting. You can decide on user experience. You can display it as a feature. There's a whole ton of things that you can set from the Patch My PC console, and it will all port over to your config manager application. So really quickly to set up. It is a paying option, but if you have it, we can definitely put the thumbs up for this application. There's no need for resources or experience in packaging.
It's also where customers save the most money from. It's recreating new apps, for example.
Yeah, and as you can see, there's been quite a few applications that have been imported.
Yeah.
So we talked about the creation. I was still on that slide. Here you go. So we saw the race. Deployment then. So how do we deploy applications from Config Manager? You've got your deployment types, depending on requirements and priority, they will apply. You assign those, or you deploy the application to a device collection or to a user collection. You all know how that works. However, if you haven't looked into the approval flow method, then you really should. In terms of being the fastest way to get your application to a device or to a user, then this is definitely the way to go. So the way it works is to grab any application and just deploy it as available to either a user collection or a device collection.
Yeah.
And in this case, I've used a device collection, which is called Software Catalog. So I'll just simulate going through this deployment again. You could even deploy it to all users, for instance, is what Microsoft documentation will mention. And that's fine. You'll see the trick, so the content distribution. You'll see the trick is in here. Yes, Kenny?
It's actually also the fastest method, deploying to all users, because policy is always on unlock, lock, re-evaluated, while machine policy is, of course, evaluated on standard 60 minutes. Most people put it on 30 minutes. I've seen people doing it on 5 minutes, but then I think your config manager is going to explode. But I think best way also, if you look into co-management and just going to more and more user-targeted methods of deployment, you should also deploy your software more and more to users.
Yes, that's a good point about the evaluation of the policy. I didn't think of that. So to make it even faster, yes, go with your user-targeted deployments. So that's what you do. Of course, make it the install action, but make sure it's set as available for the approval flow. And then what's most important is you need to select this one. An administrator must approve a request for this application on the device. If you don't see this in your console, make sure you're on a supported version. Also make sure that the feature is actually turned on. It's not turned on by default, okay? No. But that's all it takes. Optionally, you can include one or more email addresses that will receive a notification when a user requests this from the software catalog, but that's not what we want to demonstrate. And then you just go through the rest. You can decide whether you want to show it or not. Actually, this won't even apply, because if this one is checked, it depends on a client setting, whether or not applications that require approval are shown to the end user or not. Okay, and then you just go through the deployment settings, you click finish, you end up with that. If I then go to my client, I'll show you a few of the applications that have already been installed. Let me blow that up. Okay, so there's a couple that are available. There's a couple that have been installed. Let's take one that hasn't been installed yet. For instance, let's go with Notepad++, always a favorite. This one has been, I think this is from behind Wally's time. He never had the pleasure of discovering. I don't want to bash Wally.
We are not bashing Wally. We are always making jokes internally about Notepad or CM Trace. I also prefer Notepad reading log files of Config Manager. So,
yep. So let's demo how this works. If I now want to install the application on my client, I can right-click on this device. You can do that on multiple devices as well, and click on Install Application. You do need to click on a device, by the way. You can't install an application on a user, not yet. I'm sure DGEM is working on that, but today you can't.
No, we won't, because then you cannot control that it's installed on all devices.
I meant it more literally, actually. You can't install. I can't install Notepad on Wally. You know.
All right. Yeah.
Stupid joke.
No. Yeah, it was a long day. Yeah.
So let's install Notepad++, and I'm gonna click it and then switch to the VM.
Yeah.
Like so. And give it a second. I also like to open up Task Manager and see what happens. So this wasn't pre-cached or anything, and you'll see that it actually needs to start downloading the content as well. You can see the host process for Microsoft Configuration Manager doing something. Here's Notepad. It just became visible. It's downloading, and it will install automatically.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really fast. If you get the request from a user, I would like this application. If you have your software catalog deployed as available to your users, to your devices, this is by far the fastest way to get them installed.
Also, a side note, why the product team developed this feature is they want to get you guys, or at least bigger organizations, to reduce their collections, which is important, because everybody in Config Manager remembers that the more collections you have, the more evaluation schedules you have, the slower Config Manager gets, because it needs to evaluate constantly. So this feature actually gives you an option to reduce a lot of collections and just use it another way around. Also, something that I want to mention is we have a lot of customers or discussions with customers that say, hey, but yeah, you know, our single entry point is always ServiceNow or other tools. I don't come to some other tools we use, but ServiceNow is a common use tool. You could also use the admin service or the API of Config Manager to just steer that. And what we do is we add the ServiceNow web page, landing page in Software Center. So they always need to go to Software Center. They fill in what they need, and actually behind the scenes, Config Manager is doing his stuff on exactly the same way. So if that manager approval that you just saw with that multiple email addresses becomes troublesome because, sometimes it's the LOB manager and you cannot just manage that in config manager because it's too complex. As ServiceNow is also the CMDB, you just take that offline and you just put the automation on another end, but you keep the same principle. And then you don't need all that fancy collections anymore, which makes your config manager neat and clean and speedy, of course.
Yep. All right. Next option, Intune with the Admin Center portal.
Well, to be honest, I think it's easy, Merlijn, to just go into Intune and assign to available users or whatever. I think there are two things that Intune today is still not solving. That's you don't know when the application is going to be there. You cannot say like config manager, I want to install it at 12 o'clock. Well, you can say it in Intune, but you have no guarantee it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Secondly, I believe that, and we had a discussion from a policy side of things, only the first, and now Peter needs to add or correct me on that, but if I'm not mistaken, the first 131 devices will get the policy ASAP. All the rest is scheduled across 24 hours. But I can be wrong. Peter is a little bit more experienced in that area. Or maybe Peter says, I don't know, Kenny, you're just talking bullshit.
No, you're not talking bullshit, but I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that indeed.
And why? Yeah, go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
Not all devices will receive the policy.
Yeah. And they do that for one simple reason. And in the beginning, we learned this a bit from Ronnie Peterson, another colleague MVP, is the fact that they want to avoid that if you have 5,000 devices in Intune, you are doing a DDoS attack when they all reach out on the same moment to Microsoft Data Center. Which makes sense if you know if you know the reasoning behind it. But just saying that with Config Manager, it's all at once and we touch them. With Intune, it's not the case.
Yeah. So you've made the good case that Intune is quite easy to deploy it. Although we call them assignments, as we see here with the company portal example, we've set it to all devices, whether it's available or required, you can decide on that. So it's easy, but you cannot rely on when it will be deployed. Even though the Intune policy may get to the device quickly, there are limitations, technical limitations that we run into. Okay, there is one great addition that is available in the Intune portal, the endpoint portal, which is, if we go into the devices tab, I'll grab the same device that we used earlier. We're talking about the features that are still in preview today that will become available as you implement tenant attach. I'm sure you've heard about tenant attach in the last 2 years. It's been pushed a lot by Microsoft, and with very good reason. It is so easy. When Brad Anderson a couple of years ago announced co-management with 4 clicks, we all experienced it wasn't really 4 clicks. It took a little more than that.
4 or 5, actually.
A little more than 4. That's what I said. Tenant attach really is easy. When I last did this session last week, one of our colleagues, Kim, he called me out on, so was what you said about tenant attach, is that right? And he actually noticed I made a wrong assumption there. You don't actually need to have co-management enabled.
No.
I assumed that because to enable it, you need to go into the co-management settings, but you don't need co-management enabled, which is great. It's just a little checkbox that you need to enable. Again, if you don't see the option, what does that mean? Please update to a more recent version.
Yeah, I think the co-management, or how you see it today, is just connecting to the backend service. But indeed, you don't need co-management to have tenant attach. I like tenant attach. It's something that is, And if I say this now, maybe in product team will revoke my MVP status, but it's creating a bridge, because they hate the word bridge, because then everybody need to go off. That was the huge.
It's not a bridge, Kenny. It's a destination.
It's a destination, yeah. But for me, it's closing, getting teams working closer together in tenant attach, especially when you are doing phone management and more and more modern management together. So if you didn't look into tenant attach, you should definitely look at it.
Yes. So how you need to enable it is you need to follow the documentation, because you might not have this already. Go through it, even if you don't intend to fully configure co-management. This is the one that you need to enable. The option is to either upload all known devices or only go with a specific collection. Like, say you want to pilot it first, then go with this one. While you're at it, you might as well tick the endpoint analytics too. All right. So if you've done that, after a while, you'll see your devices. Well, your devices will be in there if they're already co-managed, if they're being managed by both Configuration Manager and Intune. But these features here will only show up once the tenant attach is complete. So what does it allow you to do? Well, you might recognize Resource Explorer. It's the same as when you right-click a device in Configuration Manager. You can do right-click, start. I get worried when it takes a while because I think I've dropped again. So this is the same Resource Explorer as you would have in the Configuration Manager console. It gives you the device inventory. So, yeah, okay, here we go. So you'll recognize all the classes that you would expect. But then when you go to applications, which is what we're still talking about, you notice how there's exactly the same applications as we had previously in the VM. Although, again, on the VM, not everything is visible. They've been deployed as available. They require approval. So this gives us the same experience as in the previous demo. Right-click on a device in a console, install application, select your application, and boom, off it goes. You can do the same thing here, and it even gives you the current status. So I just installed Notepad, and from here it knows that it's been installed. I can just as well uninstall it. So let me make sure that I have my VM handy.
So you see, while Merlijn is going to click the button, you see that all the actions that you regularly see in Config Manager are now, it's a better together story, and that's what Microsoft also tries to tell you, is that you will combine best of both worlds into one single, look and feel or console.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the biggest advantage of this, switch to here. The biggest advantage of this is a web console. So that means you don't need to install the Config Manager console. Okay, you don't even need to have your PC. If you have your mobile device with you, you can just log on to it using your Azure credentials, and you can do this. If you're on public transport on your way home, probably not a real life scenario today, but just imagine. And so theoretically, you're off work, but you know how it goes. You get this request, and the VIP user needs the latest Visio right now. It's in the software catalog, but they don't know how to do it. You can do this from your tablet, from your mobile phone. Just click on the device, look for the application, and hit install.
I would say
you can only do it to one device though today. You cannot target multiple devices at once.
I would say, Merlijn, it's a far-end scenario, but just look a little bit closer. I think this is an ideal scenario for a service desk guy. He doesn't need to have the console. We found many ways of avoiding getting a console to a help desk or service desk guy. I built some PowerShell tools together with other colleagues to just revoke access to any Config Manager console, because you know how trained staff members are in Config Manager. They delete some stuff you don't want them to delete. or they are not aware. So this is a perfect example where you can give access to basic functionality for a service desk and not giving them full power.
Good point. All right. Again, community tools give us more options. One of the more popular ones would be the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit, which you can get for absolutely free. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a wrapper built in a PowerShell script, which you can adapt to install any type of application. You can adapt the user experience. It gives you even more options than what you otherwise would have with the standard application model. Okay, and as I've shown you a couple of minutes ago in the Patch My PC console, you can right-click on an application and you can choose for it to disable the built-in update channel, remove all desktop shortcuts, handle the user experience if the process is still open. Stuff like that makes your life a lot easier when it comes to creating and deploying applications. So who would win this race then? Place your bets. And we've decided that no one is a real clear winner, but they are very good together. Config Manager, Approval Flow, definitely the way to go. Yeah. With the Admin Center, great addition for the help desk scenario. Add some more customization through community tools and third-party tools, and you have a great success story.
I think the main message is, again, better together. It's not one tool or another tool. You combine tools and then you get the best results for your end user, and especially in application delivery. Also, I know this wasn't the scope, but if you can go to store apps, use the store apps, because also in Config Manager, store apps are really well integrated. And you can use offline licensing, which sometimes is also forgotten. But again, I think the main story here is use them better together, and then you have all the controls you need from different tooling.
Yeah. So I decided to quickly share this. So if you've set up your store for business and you've linked it to Configuration Manager, once you add the applications to your business store, then you can find them in this tab in your Config Manager console. Of course, you can set it up to link with Intune as well and deploy them from there. Depends on where you manage the application workload.
Small tip, I use this all the time for actually removing components you don't want to have in your Windows 10 image. A lot of people use scripts to remove all these, standard apps you don't want. The mail app, the Xbox app, whatever app you have, but you're not always sure that you're in a supported state. I know this is a stupid discussion, but what I do is all these apps are available in the store. I just import them in Config Manager and I uninstall them from there through a baseline.
Okay, I haven't thought of that yet. You never shared that with me.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm glad you did it now.
And in Intune, I do the same. So just small tip. And again, if you want to chime in, you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and we'll do them across session. If they take really long, we do that in the end, so we don't get stalled. But feel free to ask questions or to interrupt or share something if you would like.
Yeah. You just saw me add Wunderlist as an app, so all the information has been pre-built. So good point from Kenny. If we then look at the details, so it should also have an uninstall method. Actually, it's not how I should do that. I should just deploy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, long day.
Oh, yeah.
And with Corona or COVID and working from home, you start early, 7:30, you end late. Yeah. That's the downside of it.
It really, really is. So, okay, yep. So this is what you would do then. Okay.
Yeah, with an application group. Yeah, exactly.
Good point. Cool. All right, back to the slides. We have some ground to cover.
I don't know. We still have half an hour or something like that?
We should have.
All right.
If not, this was our presentation. All right. Policies, notifications, if you want. Okay. The fast channel was mentioned earlier by Kenny, also dubbed the Autobahn feature. So a couple of things move through there. The notifications that you send to a device to evaluate a policy. CM Pivot uses it. The PowerShell script feature in Config Manager uses that. Fast channel is fast. This is the difference from the olden days with slow-moving software, SMS. Over the years, it has grown a lot better, and it keeps doing that.
For people who still know how it was called as a first feature, the big green button instead of the big red button. A lot of people asked in Config Manager big red button to stop wrong application deployments. Well, the team didn't listen and made a big green button to go even faster.
Yeah. Best feature ever.
Yep.
Definitely. It's not even a feature. It's built in. You don't have to enable it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, come on, get over here. So what we're talking about is, of course, I am on mobile connection, so I've got the feeling that there's a bit of lag.
No, it's not. It's fine.
I hope you're not noticing it. Good.
It's fine.
Okay, so what we're talking about, of course, is if you right-click a collection or a device, you can send client notifications. So most of these, if not all, they all travel through the fast channel. That's what we're getting at. Compared to Intune, if you look at your device, what do you have available? There's these actions, but these are Intune only actions, all right? These will only be available if your device is either fully joined to Azure AD and Intune, or when it's in a co-management state. If you have tenant attach, you may also have devices that are listed as only Config Manager, like a couple of servers here. Those will not have those Intune options. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, server operating system is not supported in Intune, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I have them anyway.
But that's through the pool management channel. It's not onboarded, so it doesn't count.
If you click the three buttons, we're talking about these three options. Those are equivalent to what you would do in the Config Manager console. There's only three options though, so you don't have the full set available. They are just as fast because what the tenant attach feature does is it uses the registry application that talks to Configuration Manager, and it just sends the signal through there. So it's not using the Intune agent here. Someone may correct me if I'm not fully correct on that.
You are correct.
Okay.
But we have to put an asterisk behind the comment. If the PC is not connected, it only works when you have CMG.
Okay. Good point.
Or VPN connected, but if it's not, you need CMG. So,
yeah.
I'm just saying.
By the way, would you need CMG to enable tenant attach?
I don't think so.
Nope, you don't. Because this works with on-prem clients just as well.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's all it does. You use the Intune portal if you like. You click one of these policies. It's Intune communicating back with Config Manager, with the SMS provider. So it doesn't matter whether your device is managed on the internet or not. If it is on the internet, you need to have the CMG, of course.
Yeah.
Well, not if it's co-managed. Then it could go through the Intune channel.
But I don't know if it's co-managed and you push this if you're still on the limit of the first 130 whatever clients and then within 24 hours. I'm not sure about that.
I don't think so, because it would travel back to Config Manager. I think this discussion might lead us. This is one for the bar with a beer.
Huh.
Yeah. And get DGEM involved.
Definitely. It's his most favorite feature. I mean, just to give you an anecdote on that, I think that DGEM run into an MVP when we were there with the MVPs, and he say, I have blocked building a web console for that long, and now I'm going to build it. And now he has built it. He's very excited about it, and I think it's one of his favorite features now.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. All right, community tools.
Yes.
Why do you still need recast right-click tools anyway?
You don't need them, but a lot of people still really love them. I'll refer to the old SCCM Client Center as well. Tools like that. I no longer use them, but I see a lot of customers still do that.
I think Client Center is still great because that gives you debug capabilities you don't have in the console straight away. I think like right-click tools of Recast, they still have some functionality that is not into Config Manager, but for a normal day-to-day admin job, I don't think you really need them anymore.
Yeah.
But okay, that's just my opinion.
Disclaimer, neither of us are experts on the Recast tools. We just know that they're very popular. What I understand is that the community, the free edition, gives you, gives you the right-click tools as you know them, but the commercial ones, at least, they use their own solution. They use it is a third party, so they use a third party server, and they do their WMI actions through there. Whether or not that requires an additional agent on your machine, look, I'm not really sure on that, but we did decide to include that tool in the presentation. It is a very popular one.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so who would win this race then? Who do we think? Go horsies. Clear winner, Config Manager, fast channel, Autobahn. It's the quickest way by far.
I always put my money on Config Manager, Merlijn. Sorry.
I hope you've won something. I hope you didn't invest in other things recently.
Well,
let's move on.
Inventory, yeah. I think from an inventory point, I think one side note we can say Config Manager, you can extend inventory. You have a lot of tools which Merlijn will cover, but I think from an inventory perspective, I think we are entitled to say that from a product team view on Intune, it's not an inventory tool. At least that's what we hear. At least that's what we read into documentation. But it makes sense because Intune as such is a managed services kind of platform, and extending hardware inventory doesn't make sense for Microsoft because it's a managed service. You need to have everything under control, and extensions, and you know that from Config Manager, sometimes they fail, sometimes they bloat the database, sometimes they work great. So if you look at extensibility, Config Manager, in my opinion, is a clear winner. Intune is just a tool that collects a basic set of things that you need to run a platform, or at least run some management around it. If you then go back to tenant attach, then we get another different ball game, and comes back to the previous slide that we discussed, is that tooling is, or combining the two tools is clearly the winner. We've talked about Resource Explorer, but Merlijn can chime in a bit about CM Pivot and what the new Intune Admin Center is giving. So take it away, Merlijn.
Thanks. Yeah, if tenant attach wasn't my favorite tool, then CM Pivot definitely is.
Yeah.
We've both done a few sessions on that topic, and I continue to invest time in whatever's new with CM Pivot. So quick demo. I've already shown you the Resource Explorer both in Intune and in the console. The other thing that you should really start to use, if you don't already, is CM Pivot. How to start it? Whether you click on you click on a collection, right click and do start CM Pivot, or you right click on one, or by the way, multiple devices, you can start CM Pivot from here.
Or
again,
Merlijn, you don't use the console and you just run CM Pivot standalone.
Yes, I wanted to say if you don't see this option for your devices, that means you're not on the latest version of Configuration Manager. Not sure if this was introduced in 2006 or 2010. I think it was 2006 to start.
I think you mean the standalone one.
No, the device initiated CM Pivot. So you can target one single device.
I think it was 2002.
No. I've worked with a customer yesterday that is on 2002. They don't have that. So I'm sure it's not that one. but that's the detail.
Okay.
So in this case, you can target it at a single device. These should be very familiar to you. Wording may be a little different, but they are in fact all the hardware inventory classes, including your custom inventory classes. So if you're using a tattoo solution during your staging process, for instance, that would show up as well. On top of that, you get a couple of custom features as well that are not hardware inventory related. For instance, this one is something you won't find in Resource Explorer. It gives you an overview of the missing software updates. If you were looking for the ones that have been installed, you know to use Quick Fix Engineering for that. So this one gives you an overview of whatever is missing. You need to read through the documentation a little bit. The learning curve is not steep at all. And while this is running, CMPivot uses a subset of the query language used by Azure Log Analytics. That language is called Custo. It's quite similar to WQL, SQL, and even PowerShell syntax. So that's why the learning curve isn't that high. Here you go. So we've just queried which software updates are pending for that machine, and this is your overview. If you were to compare that with the ones that have been installed, we'll let that run as well. What's happening in the background is this triggers through the fast channel, by the way, it triggers a PowerShell script on the device. So the devices need to be on at least PowerShell version 4. If not, they'll show up in here as failed with a message of PowerShell version not supported.
Yeah. Also, be aware that this thing is maximum running for an hour. You could change that in the registry, but I wouldn't advise that.
No. It's a real-time tool, so yeah. I don't think you should use it to just sit there in the background. It will use up resources, by the way.
Yeah.
If you refer to the documentation, Microsoft says that only one CMPivot session is supported on a computer at any given time. Now, not supported does not mean it doesn't work. In fact, a lot of environments have terminal servers, jump servers, tool servers, whatever you like to call them, that have the console for Config Manager with multiple admins using CMPivot all at the same time. It works fine in my experience.
Also, one thing to notice about CMPivot, people thinking it will take a lot of network resources are so wrong, because the biggest query it's going to send over the wire or data is hardware inventory data, of course, and it's I think it's 120 kilobyte per machine. So killing your network, of course, everybody can do it. If you have a combination of things going on, I'm not saying it can't happen, but it won't be, like in the previous days, the guy running to the config manager guy or the SMS guy, what are you distributing again? My network is crashing. Stop doing what you're doing. Stop the patching round. This ain't happening with CMPivot, by the way.
No. Oh, the standalone CMPivot just died. So that's the other way to launch it. I used the MSI previously, so that's what you need to install on your workstation.
Yeah.
I wonder what it will do. Oh, my demo gods are not with me today. So just believe me, that's another way to do it.
Maybe we can jump to the next thing is reporting.
Yeah, so let's go back to the slide deck. So we've seen the Resource Explorer and CMPivot in Config Manager. Same thing in the Admin Center. You can use CMPivot in there as well. Actually, you can use even more of the language because it's built directly onto Log Analytics. On top of that, in the portal for Intune, you get a little bonus. Kenny mentioned it earlier. Intune was never meant to be an inventory tool. It isn't an inventory tool, but you have that one available as well. If you have devices that are managed only through the internet and they're not onboarded into Config Manager, for instance, you would still have some basic inventory.
Yes.
Which is, to conclude on this one, The only reason why we put Intune in the lead, it does have that little extra, but they share the same features apart from
I think we just need to make clear statement that if you would run Intune standalone, it won't be the winner.
No, because you wouldn't have these. You require tenant attached to have these.
Yep.
Yes. All right. Last topic on reporting. So you know how to deploy your applications really fast. You can get your inventory very quickly, real time. So what can we do with reporting? Again, the story with Config Manager, it's been around for ages. So have the built-in reports, the SQL-based reports. Many of those were transformed was the word I was looking for, from old WQL based reports, and they were very poorly ported. So I really dislike many of the reports that we have today in the product. We do have a lot. You can edit them, sure. Steep learning curve though, okay?
Yeah. Maybe one thing to add, Merlijn, and we didn't foresee that in our presentation, but also the Community Hub can be a nice addition to reporting in Config Manager. If you don't have the knowledge or the skills to make your own custom reports through the Community Hub, it's fairly easy to get nice community reports.
I can't believe I didn't include that in the slide. I will do so before I slide it. Community Hub is another one of my favorite tools. Right.
But again, no guarantees. It's community, but you can curate it yourself, give points and stuff like that. So basically, Merlijn is right. I'm not. I spend some time on reporting, but anyway, if my customer says I want this and this and this report because I want my patch compliance in whatever way that is possible, I'm telling them, you know what, go to Enhancesoft, which is now bought by Recast anyway, but doesn't matter. Hire somebody that's good at SQL reporting. Just, don't look at me.
I know someone.
It's starting with K and ending at Herman. Okay.
Yeah, all right. So how does it compare to reporting through Intune? Well, here you go. Here's reports. Let's see. Where are my reports? It's not by any means the same as you would expect from Config Manager. There's some nice reports in there. If you want to get the inventory details from your devices, you would have to use something like the Graph API and get your data out of that and use that with reports built in another tool.
It's based on very basic hardware inventory or inventory data, so you won't get a lot of rich data. I think the only thing that I think is very neat is the endpoint analytics. If you didn't look into it, the startup performance and all that kind of stuff can give you a good indication of what's happening in your environment.
It is very useful.
And your happiness of your end user, of course.
Yeah. But reports in Intune, not the same thing at all as Config.
You can take a screenshot and then send it to your boss.
Well, yes, exactly. With any results, whether it's from CM Pivot or anything, you can export it to the clipboard, export it to CSV, all the good stuff. It's a form of reporting. By all means, you could use that. So what other options do we have? Let's leave it right here because you're right to include the Community Hub. Again, we're on version 2010, so we might have some different options, especially if you want to use Community Hub. You want to upgrade to this version, you can choose to only show Microsoft curated content. You can include community curated content. You can even allow for non-curated content, which is the case in this environment. This is only a lab, by the way. I would definitely not encourage you to do that in a production environment. Okay.
And also be aware that now it's possible to run it on a server, but anyway, I would...
2016 and higher. Though.
Yeah, I know, but also from a security standpoint, I would never allow as a customer, except maybe my WSUS box and my connection point, to have internet on my server.
Yeah.
Especially not with the console, because be aware, and I'm just mentioning that every time customers should be aware. Anyone who gets access to this console has the company in their hands. Because fast channel can be very fast also in destroying your company.
True. All right, so you could find reports in here. Now, there's no quick filter in here to look for a report, but let me try and do a little search. I'm not even sure if there's going to be any reports available already.
I think that Panu did one example, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it, and maybe in Q&A I'll report back on it. I can also show you the GitHub side of things. Okay, but basically you'll find task sequences, you'll find CM pivot queries, applications.
Yep.
Console extensions are new in 2010. Cool feature as well. And you can also include reports and configuration items. Okay.
But what does that do with reporting, Merlijn? We are getting a little bit off topic.
True. Yes. So
it's just because we get excited about that feature.
Yeah. As we mentioned, in Handsoft, Garth Jones he's written the Bible on SQL reporting. They have recently been acquired, or they've done a merger. Not sure on the details with Recast, which is a great team now. So don't know if they will still do it in the future, but up till now they've done a monthly free giveaway on reports. Make sure you subscribe on that, because you can't get the reports after that month. So make sure you subscribe to that. We've included another example. It's just one of the many examples out there. System Center dudes, they have a lot of reports as well. The same companies also, that's what they make a living of. They provide reports to you commercially. You can buy bundles, go check them out. I've included a link to Universal Dashboard, which is part of Ironman software. It's based on PowerShell. I've dabbled with it a bit. I've found a few blogs. You can check out the link. It basically gives you a very basic web rendering of data. It could be useful to you. If you'd like to know more, feel free to reach out to me. I'm getting into it, and I do see a couple of scenarios for that. But so this was the last topic. So who would win this race, you think, after all we've seen? I think it's clear that the winner here is none of these. Check out Power BI. It just clears all the others off the table. It's much more dynamic. As a report creator, myself and my colleagues as well, we build all our stuff in Power BI today. You can create paginated reports, which is the same as the SQL-based reports, but we can manipulate them in real time. We can use graphs. They work on mobile devices, and you can still export it to whatever you like, but by far it's the best way of reporting today from Content Manager.
I think, Merlijn, what let's say then I think is a good argument for people to use Power BI, aside from the technical things. You can build with the same data set and the same query, you can build actually a management dashboard where they just want to see a little thing on how good am I doing, until a very technical detailed dashboard where you can dig in and do even troubleshooting or slice and dice. And you do that with the same data set. So it's actually one time you do the effort, and actually you have both groups pleased, the management or maybe the SecOps team or whatever. And you as the technical guy, if you need to deep dive why they are, if they ask you some why questions. Yeah, Wally always told us no why questions, so I'm still hesitating when I'm saying that. Yeah, like Merlijn said, I think Power BI is a great thing. One thing that I've learned yesterday by example is that the only thing you need to look at is to keep your data set as small as possible. Because once it gets too big, you need the paid version, and that's like a 5K license a month, and no customer is going to pay for that. So be aware of what data you pull in before you slice and dice, so it doesn't become too big and you need the premium Power BI.
Okay.
There is a question. Do you have any recommendations for Power BI dashboards we can use? Yes, there are.
Here you go. I was just about to show. There's a problem, and I'm hoping someone of you has already figured this out. So there's been a favorite one. It's a config manager dashboard. It's a template that you can use, and it's posted on the TechNet gallery. But since this weekend, all the content has been moved away. Well, the TechNet gallery is dead, people. So the problem is, I've seen it with a lot of code samples. I can't find them anymore. I haven't looked into. I probably missed the memo. Not sure where it's all gone. I assume many of these things would be on GitHub, but it's unfortunate that a lot of these links no longer work. Maybe if you have some details that you want to share with us, throw them in the chat. That would be great, because there are definitely dashboards to go with. They're called templates.
I know who built the dashboard in the product team, so I can definitely ask where it's now stored or if they can republish. But I wouldn't put my hopes too high on that one.
You're talking about a certain RD?
No.
Talking about someone else. Anyway, so there's also the System Center dudes and the ones we've linked to earlier. They have some commercially available dashboards to play with as well.
To be honest, I think the System Center dudes make nice dashboards. I know Raf Delgado is not from that company, but
RD, like I said.
Yeah, but yeah, Raf Delgado had a free dashboard and now made it paying. I think everybody needs to make money since COVID. I think he just wanted to commercialize it one way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think sometimes it's like I said, another customer, I think the System Center dude's dashboard for patching or I think BitLocker management or whatever is like $200. I mean, either I spend my day working on that, or you just pay $200, and then I would say pay the $200 because that's cheaper than my time.
Yeah. Again, we're not sponsored to say this.
No, but
you could say they're competitors of ours in our professional life. Doesn't matter. It's true from a report creator's point of view. It's definitely the case.
I look at it as a consultant from a return on investment perspective, and I want my customer to have an honest opinion. And I think sometimes I'm not good at it, and I will spend more money on it than just buying something that already exists.
That's it. Exactly. Yep. By the way, I've put this documentation link on the screen as well, because you can integrate your on-prem Power BI server if you have that one. Whoops, that's not where I meant to go. In monitoring, you can integrate it with Config Manager. Haven't done that in this environment, so I can't show you anything.
I think, Merlijn, just to chime in into that, for that option to work, but again, I'm not sure. It has been discussed in the product team. You needed the premium Power BI thing for that to work. But again, that could have been changed now. I know that was a huge debate in the beginning they launched it, but
you shouldn't require it because this is about the on-prem Power BI report server. But again, I've not implemented this, so I would spend more money on it.
I know that there was a huge debate in the beginning. Could be that they changed it already. Again, same page. I have no experience on it, so.
The thing where you do need the premium license if you're using the online platform, powerbi.com or powerbi.microsoft.com, whatever, and you want to connect to your on-prem data. This is where you will need the premium license.
Yeah,
that's
then you need the
What
gateway.
that's about. Yeah,
Okay.
And it is a costly thing to buy. But many organizations already use Power BI for other data intelligence.
Or you need it. It's too far away. But it was something with SQL license combined with Power BI. I don't know anymore. It's
probably licensing. Yeah. Let's not talk about licensing. So, guys. Again, the recap of who are the winners per topic. For application creation, we decided third party. We had the example of Patch My PC, is a great tool to have, saves a lot of resources and effort.
Especially in application creation.
Yep, and deployment is linked to that, combined with Configuration Manager, approval flow, look into that. Use tenant attach, that's such a quick win. Policies, send notifications to your clients, Config Manager, without a doubt, still the fastest, still the most options. Inventory, again, the tenant attach had a small lead, but it can't do it without Config Manager.
Yep.
Reporting, as we said, Power BI, those would be the winners to get stuff to either your end user or your manager as fast as you possibly can.
Definitely.
Quick other one, as a bonus, you can click on the links to find out what it's about. Push notifications, toast notifications, if you will, are a great way to interact with your end user. Just one of the ways. Several people in the community have already documented on how you could do that to announce something, a service outage. Like the internet is down. I found out that there was a planned maintenance, by the way, between 4 and 5 today. I missed that memo as well.
It is called a feature that we proposed long time ago and also won, and it was Twitter for Config Manager when we did come on, what was it again? Hacking? No, but
Hackathon.
Hackathon by Microsoft. Actually, cool idea, but why isn't it native in Config Manager? I think it's legal things, because in Intune it's there and it works pretty neat and fast. I have customers that use it through Intune just to push out when the fire alarm is going to happen, just to remind people. I think the push notifications are really nice.
Yeah. And then last but not least, to trigger a baseline, compliance is something I still can't find in the right-click client notification options. Perhaps Recast has it. I'm sure they have. But you can script it as well. So there's a link to that one as well. And then right on time, I believe, we finished our presentation. There's been 2 questions already from both from Eric. I believe one question, we've answered that one. Keep them coming. But I think we can hand the mic back. No, first to Kenny.
No, I would say thank you for attending our presentation. That's number one. If there are some questions to raise, don't type them. Just open your mic or raise your hand and just ask them. It's a bit more, I think, personal than just typing stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it and also learned something. It was not really the intention to really do technical, but if your customer asks you what do you propose, or maybe it helps you in making the right judgment calls.
Yeah, hope it helps. And if you'd like to find out a little more, if you'd like us to dive more deeply into one of the topics, please feel free to leave us a suggestion. It would help to build new sessions for you. So let's hand the mic back to Kenneth and Peter.
Okay, great guys. I see no new questions popping in. Still people joining, which is actually quite nice.
They come for the beer, Kenneth. They come for the beer.
Virtual beer.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to present for us. We really appreciate it. And if we can meet each other again on short term, we owe you a nice Belgian beer, because we really miss that. And
I still owe you the glass, Kenneth.
Yeah, but I will remind you, no worries.
Once the borders open up again, we'll take you up on the offer.
Okay. Hey, for the people who joined, thanks for joining. We will have a new meeting in 2 weeks. Invitation will be sent out probably tomorrow. This meeting is recorded. We will also receive the slides from Kenny and Merlijn, which I will share with you as well. And for now, have a nice evening, and thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys, for inviting us.
Yes, thank you for hosting. And thanks to